As I promised, my follow-up video of the XM2 wireless would be the comparison to the Lamzu Atlantis wireless mouse. These two mice are so incredibly similar, but still very different. And I'm going to cover all of that today, all the differences, similarities within both of these mice, so you can make a better decision on which one to pick up. Now, first, what I'd like to do is talk about the dimensions. And when you look at the numbers here, holy smokes, they look like they are an absolute spin image. But weirdly enough, when I put my hand on the Atlantis, I feel it a little bit more on the outer side of my palm right there, right? So we sit it down there, bam, and then within there, I feel it more. Not down here on the bottom, but up here on the inner palm. When I put my hand over here on the XM2 wireless, I feel it a little more centralized in the middle of my palm rather than the outside. But again, the numbers are the exact same. And if you can see it in camera here, which I honestly doubt you can, maybe if you look more at the side buttons, the XM2 kind of rolls up just a little bit on the end, when over here on the Lamzu, it kind of shoots out just a slight flare. So what I want to show you, we'll get a little nerd here and get my measurer, and this might be able to break it up a little easier for you. I want to show you these dimensions on the top. Can you see that? What are we getting? 62.18 right there. We're going right from the top here, coming over here onto this. I'll get into the side of the buttons. 61.8. And again, it's mild. Now let's get that hump just to make sure here. We are getting 37.9. And let's go on and get this right where this hump is here. We're going to get 30, sliding around. Hold on, 37.3. So as you're seeing, the hump is pretty much the exact same, and the length and the width and everything's the same. It's as far as the Lamzu sliding out a little bit on the side right there, rather with the XM2 kind of rolling around. And you do feel that. You feel it clear as day in the hand. I honestly like the Lamzu in the hand a little more. It's a little bit more towards my Death Adder feel, where it's filling up my palm a little bit easier, right? I'd call this like a medium, and let's call the Lamzu a medium plus. Next up, the weight difference of both of these mice. First off, slapping the XM2 wireless on, we're getting 62, bouncing 62.1 right here. So let's call it a flat 62 grams. Getting the Lamzu Atlantis, 54.8 grams. And now where I want to show you that majority of that difference is coming from is right underneath. As you see, the XM2 has pretty much that solid shell all around. On a Lamzu, you got that opening on the bottom. And yes, as mild as it is, the Lamzu Atlantis does feel lighter in the hand than the XM2. Now, what I personally notice a little bit more is the XM2 has a slight pinch, I'm talking slight, of tail weight right back there. It doesn't really throw it off balance or anything, but I feel it. Over here on the Lamzu, it's pretty much across the board. It feels balanced. It feels like you're picking up one just basic shell. You don't feel the batter or anything in a different spot. It feels very balanced and true across the entire mouse. Now, another big thing here is the buttons, especially 1 and 2. Now, if you look at them straight on right here, take a look at the gap difference on the Lamzu compared to the XM2 wireless. Very minimal. Bam, down, and we're in business, right? Coming over here to the Lamzu, it's still bam down in business, but you got a little bit of play after it, right? So if you're a little bit more aggressive and you're pressing those buttons, you're going to feel that bounce down and then come up, whether they're over here on the XM2, again, right down into business. Now the sound is a little bit different as well. Lamzu sound incredibly lighter. And yes, they are even when you use them. Not saying these are firm by any means, but you can tell you're using a little bit more force pressing those down, and then much lighter on the Lamzu. Now, one thing that really stood out to me, one to the other here, is me playing a lot of Call of Duty, a lot of Destiny. Again, you all know I'm a bit of a firmer gripper, right? And on the Lamzu, whenever I would press it down, and say if I'm pressing down and swiping at the same time, I'd feel that button slide down, kind of feel a little crunchy in there, if you catch my drift, right? That button's moving around, bouncing or scraping off something, and I would feel it. It got pretty annoying. Coming over here to the XM2, You don't get that at all, and it felt incredibly premium on the XM2 compared to the Lamzu. One other thing really different about the buttons here. As you see on the Lamzu, the buttons go down into the frame, so you got that little lip over there. So if you're one to grip your mouse on the outside, you're gonna be pressing it down and feeling that lip whenever you press down. A really cool thing about the XM2 is whenever you press it down, again, it's entire button up at front. You don't got any frame getting in your way. Really nice over here on the XM2. But as far as the rest of the buttons on both of these mice, I mean, they are crispy, right to the point. Both of them, I think, get a pass on that. The scroll wheel's very nice on both of them. Very nice tactile press. Again, it's just those 1 and 2 that are quite different. Now, if you're into specs, sensor, battery life, and stuff like that, I'll slap it up on a screen. It's not something I really like harping about because nowadays with modern mice, I mean, heck, they all perform pretty flawlessly. All right, so hold up. We're not done yet. We still got a few things to cover. And number one being the price tag of these mice. Very similar. Lamzu Atlantis coming in at $90, XM2 Wireless coming in at $80. Now, where this really differentiates and separates them is if you looked at those specs, yeah, they are a little bit different. But as I stated, I mean, it's minute and so mild to tell a difference spec to spec on these modern mice. They all perform flawlessly. They all are top tier, right? But XM Gear is coming out with the XM2we, not a we, but just a W. And the specs are more in line with the Lamzu Atlantis. And that's gonna come in at $120. That's where it really comes into play. When you look at the specs of that compared to, it really makes the Lamzu Atlantis shine. But hold on, I haven't talked about my actual use of both of these mice. Now, I did in my standalone reviews, go check those out if you want. But going 1-to-1 here, and I've flip-flopped them constantly, going back and forth here, okay? Again, I already told you that I do like the feel of the Lamzu in the hand. It just feels out a little bit more. It's more of that medium plus shape. So for me, it's a little bit bigger. I do like that feel in the hand. I would say the XE or the Endgame Gear XM2we is a lot more safe. As I stated in my standalone review again, it's right there with the G Pro Wireless. It's a mouse that I think a lot of people are gonna get down with. Not too big, not too small, not too plump. It's a really safe mouse. I would say the Lamzu Atlantis feels a little bit more plump, hence the reason I like it. Now, as I stated with those 1 and 2s right there, I caught myself a lot wanting to stop using the Lamzu Atlantis and go over to the XM Wireless. I really did. The clicks just felt better. When I got that crunchiness over here, like when you're just using that one product, you don't notice it. But when you're flip-flopping comparison both of them right here, you notice it significantly. And again, it got really annoying. So that brings me to a core point of that question I was going to ask in the beginning. Which one do you go with, right? I would definitely, clear as day, go with the Lamzu Atlantis. I would. That's not saying anything bad about the Endgame Gear over here, right? This mouse is phenomenal. It really is. But when you compare the specs, you compare the price, you compare the availability, I think the Lamzu Atlantis is going to take the cake. But this is a phenomenal mouse over here that, as I stated in my main review, I think everyone should have on their desk. But again, for me, I'm going Lamzu Atlantis. Let me know which one you're going with right down in the comments. And I hope this video helped you out a little bit, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye now.